You guys, welcome to a special Summer Game Fest stream, and today we are going to be talking about a game, but in a bit of a different way. We're going to talk about esports and LCS, League of Legends. We've been covering a lot of stuff from Riot across the summer, but of course you can't talk about Riot without League of Legends. And joining me now from his home studio, I guess we should call it, is Dash. How you doing, man?
Doing quite well, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. So, we want Summer Game Fest to be inclusive of everything across the gaming industry, and I've been down to the LCS studios in other years and had a lot of fun checking out what you guys have been doing there. This year, first of all, it's very different, I'm sure, in how you're producing things, how you're putting things together. What is it like to try and do esports production in a COVID world?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're experiencing a lot of the same, but we were actually just talking about kind of the different approaches that we've seen different entities use to solve this. But it, on the LCS side, has just been this massive and impressive undertaking of countless people to get a show up and running. I mean, a lot of people will remember when COVID first hit and quarantine first went into effect back in spring, we were right in the middle of our own spring split. And in that fashion, we had to work under an incredible time crunch to get a remote broadcast up and running. And so we did. We got a makeshift broadcast up and running in 1 week's time. And it was a whole heck of a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me that got it up and running. So I do have to just give a small kudos and clap to all the engineers and everyone working behind the scenes to get it up and running, because it's been a technical feat, to say the least. And that's before we even get into, the more narrative and kind of human aspects that you miss when you move to a remote broadcast and trying to solve for those. Sports is all about the athletes and spotlighting the incredible plays, incredible players. Well, what can you do when you can't get a camera on the faces of those people? How do you continue to tell compelling narratives and stories in an at-home environment? And so that's been an incredible hurdle for us to try and overcome, but it's also been an exciting one, to say the least. Peaks and valleys here and there, but we've been helped by an incredible split so far. We'll get into some of that. The teams have really provided us with some phenomenal games, and at its core, as gamers, we like to see hype gameplay and hype moments, and we've been able to capture that still, right? Even from home, these players are still incredible at what they do.
Yeah, no, it's so much fun to watch, and if people don't know sort of the whole context of it, literally every weekend when you're in one of these splits, there are a lot of games happening Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So for people that may be watching this and know League of Legends and know the scale of that game, I think everyone knows there's LCS and there's esports around it. But can you maybe kind of frame up what LCS looks like? We're in the summer split now, but what does that mean? Who's involved? How often do they play?
Yeah, absolutely. So at its most basic level, the LCS, the League Championship Series, is the North American Regional Competitive League, akin to the NBA or the NFL. In fact, the LCS is the third most popular major professional sports league in the United States. So that's including esports and traditional broadcasting, just to give you kind of a scope of the size within that demographic of 18 to 34-year-olds. But to your point about what it is, 10 teams in a 5-on-5, highly strategic, team-based game. And so it's all about these 5 individuals competing against another for victory, but in the most strategic and team-oriented way you can. These 10 teams play a double round robin over the course of 9 weeks in a split. They move then on to a 3 to 4 week playoff period to determine the winner. Now, we have 2 splits every year. As you mentioned, we're in the middle of our summer split, which is the second split that happens. So spring already took place. Normally, the winner of the spring split will move on to compete at the Midseason Invitational, the first of our more prestigious international competitions.
Which didn't happen this year.
Year, exactly. One of the hurdles we had to overcome, but like you were talking about, it forced us to innovate, and we came up with a really fun, in my opinion, and I guess community-driven event called the Midseason Streamathon, where it was more about coming together and banding together as a community through these difficult times to still celebrate high-level League of Legends, but acknowledging that it's not going to be the most competitive environment because we're in a remote situation.
Yeah.
Fast forward into summer. Summer's where it gets real interesting and real exciting, because it's all about not only winning the split for regional dominance and pride, but the top 3 teams of every region are going to get to qualify for the World Championship, which is where the real prestige, the real money comes out, and the real bragging rights for being the world's best is on the line. But same format, 9 weeks of regular season play into 3 to 4 weeks of playoffs, with one champion standing at the end and the 2 just behind them going to Worlds on their coattails.
Yes, and Worlds has been announced as happening in China. You guys usually do it in the October timeframe. So obviously, with everything going on in the world, that's still, I'm sure, the plan. But you guys must be thinking of lots of contingencies around that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, luckily I'm not a decision maker in that category, because I'd be lying if I told you that I was envious of their position, the tough situation that they find themselves in. But again, we have a lot of really incredible people on the team who are focused on that product specifically, and to do it in the most intelligent, safe way, healthy and safe way, but while keeping the competitive integrity that we hold so dear when it comes to high level competition. Right. So I trust they'll make the right decision, and stay tuned for those announcements, because we're not ready to make them just yet. Yeah,
no, and that's the thing, as you said, with high level competition, you really have to be in the same room and on the same network and all connected together, because these people are, these players are incredibly skilled. And speaking of that skill, let's talk about sort of what's happening this summer. One thing I'm really excited that you're doing for the first time this week is a show match. So tell us a bit about that, because you just talked about the 9-week round robin, but this is something brand new you're doing, right?
Oh, I'm so pumped. This is going to be great on a couple different levels. For those of you who are already existing LCS fans, we've got a special treat, a little nostalgia-driven treat, which is we're bringing back some of the classic members of the old C9 and TSM squads for a classic show match on Friday night. So the LCS now takes place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday evenings, Saturday, Sunday during the day. So we're going to kick off our Friday Night League broadcast, which is our more fun, casual atmosphere broadcast, by throwing it back to the glory days of when C9 and TSM were the 2 most dominant teams in North America. We're bringing back some of the biggest names, in the industry to watch them duke it out. I'm sure, some of them maybe are keeping up with their league skills. Maybe some of them have slipped a little, but I'm hoping for some classic picks and a lot of wonkiness and fun. But really what it's going to serve to do is remind us all about where League of Legends esports began, the organizations that it began with, the big players who were, main drivers in that narrative, and set us up for what is the actual battle between Cloud9 and TSM as organizations later in the week on Saturday between their existing rosters.
Yes, so let's talk about this great rivalry that has played out over the years. I remember whenever I've gone to the arena, you had the banners of all the previous champions, and there were a lot of these logos from these teams. So, tell us a bit about the history of these teams. And this year, it's great because you have 2 of the sort of the OG teams right at the top of the charts.
Yeah, well, so here's a little history of the LCS. The LCS started back in 2013 in spring. From 2013 spring to now, where we're at in the current timeline, only 4 teams have ever won the LCS. So that's already a very small number of teams that have won. 2 of those 4 teams are Cloud9 and TSM, and they are by far and away the 2 most winning organizations and high-placing organizations in the LCS. Team Liquid did recently have a run just these last 2 years, and some people will be aware of that. But when you talk holistically, top 3 finishes over the course of their LCS careers, TSM has 12 top 3 finishes. Cloud9 has 10 top 3 finishes. And Cloud9 wasn't even in the first split of the LCS. That said, when you go back all the way to the glory days of the LCS, 2013, 2014, even into 2015, the first 5 splits of the LCS were won by either TSM or Cloud9. And of all of the splits where Cloud9 and TSM were both in the league, so we're ignoring that very first split, they were in the finals against each other. So the LCS was built on this rivalry, specifically on TSM versus Cloud9 being in the finals. It was Cloud9 that won the first 2. It was TSM that won the next 2. Those were the first 4 splits of the LCS that Cloud9 was a part of. They unfortunately weren't in the first split of the LCS, so we sort of ignore that one. But TSM still won it to kick things off. So we're already set up for this incredible battle between 2 teams that have met so many times at that highest echelon of play.
Yeah, no, the fact that you have these guys battling and being at the top of the charts and then the show match, I love that it's all coming together. And before we talk more, I want to take a look. You guys put together a really cool sizzle reel of the excitement between this rivalry, right?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Let's check it out.
I'm very happy that we made it to the finals, but our goal was to win PAX Prime.
Championship game between the most dominant team in the LCS history and the team that's dominated North America since Season 1. It's Cloud9 versus Team Solo Mid.
They've never lost a playoff game in North America.
First time for everything.
And he's gotta hit the Nexus with their eyes on the Nexus. Their eyes on the Summer Split.
It feels pretty damn good, dude. They're our good friends and we took them down.
Playing C9 will definitely be really, really rough games.
He's using that aggressive move. The ignite, the chain, and the kill. Bjergsen killed everyone this year. He could not kill high a single time.
I'm playing for pride. We haven't lost to them in playoffs, and I don't want to start now.
This is the third straight split that has come down to these two teams. Turtle on the triple, Turtle on the quadra. TSM goes the full 5 and takes down Cloud9. They have finally done it. They have defeated Cloud9 in the playoffs.
This trophy is currently TSM's, and I really don't want them to keep it.
Winning the trophy has always been TSM's legacy.
And they will do it once again. The consecutive wins for Team Solo Mid.
When I first joined the team, that was the most, hyped up match, was facing C9.
Cloud9 versus TSM. We've said it before, such a historic rivalry between these two squads. So many battles between them.
They're going to give up the championship. Disaster for Cloud9.
We've denied them their trophy so many times that I'm sure the organization is really salty.
I'm thinking about TSM today.
Of course, it always feels nice going up against TSM and being able to win against them. I feel like we almost always come out on top, but they are always a really strong team, and they're always kind of our nemesis or our rival.
These are the kinds of games that divide friends and fans. Everyone is ready for C9 versus TSM.
You know what time it is right now? It's C9 time, dude.
Some licorice, he's looking to do body slam Bjergsen.
I'm just thinking, why is TSM even being compared to them right now?
I'm just saying here, but TSM has twice as many trophies as C9.
Looking to re-engage Bjergsen. That's what they needed.
Niski, my boy Niski. This guy's insane.
And it's still gets 3. A triple kill out of Niski.
Well, we have Bjergsen, and they don't.
Here comes the Azir shuffle. Gets 1, gets 2. All 3 are gone.
TSM may have resurrected their 2016 roster, but it's not going to work. Shutting up TSM chants never gets old.
Nothing really beats C9 versus TSM.
So I think that's a fantastic primer for what's coming this weekend. And the reason why I'm so excited about that piece is because it does give you the full picture of the history between these two organizations. And let me just add to some of that history, because we talked about at the highest level how they've met each other in the finals a bunch, they've traded wins. But what a lot of people don't even know, that organizationally, these teams are tied together in a way that you wouldn't expect. I think a lot of people might know TSM Reginald, the owner and founder of the organization.
Yeah.
Well, the owner and founder of Cloud9, Jack Etienne, used to work for TSM before the Cloud9 days.
Right. Yep.
And so it's not even just that on a competitive level, these teams constantly run into each other. It's that they are intertwined in terms of their leadership and the outlook that both of these guys had on the life of competitive esports, and for them to invest so heavily in it, and then for them to continually meet and butt heads in the finals, I just think is such a cool setup for it.
It's fun. I mean, we had Cloud9 for Game Awards, I think 3 years in a row won best team, and it was always something that, like, Andy would say to me, it's like, we got to get up there. What's it going to take? And yeah, I love that there's that rivalry that still exists between these guys, and they're also, super competitive at the top of the charts, which is awesome to see that they've done a great job bringing in new players. I mean, that's the thing is, people hear these team names, but it's like different players, coaches, and how seriously everyone takes it and putting together the right mix of players. As we know, there have been some teams that, are changing out players midseason and everything just because they want to find the most optimal setup. And the fact that those guys have operated at the highest levels despite the competition and, a lot of money being, thrown around to some of these players. Because I was reading something that like the average salary now for a player is pretty high, right?
It's pretty large. I believe the average is around $400,000 a year, but you will find contracts upwards of $1 million per year for some of our highest level players, specifically within the LCS. And you'll find some of those biggest names on these two teams. Yeah. For those of you who are esports fanatics, you'll know the names Doublelift and Bjergsen, who are back together, reunited on TSM from their days in 2016. And then on the flip side, I love that you called out the way that rosters are changing and how there are new faces, because Cloud9 is in this interesting position where the entire roster of 5 is different from from the roster of 5 that started this Cloud9 legacy. And again, why I'm so excited we're going to get that classic matchup on Friday, so that then when you turn the page to Saturday, you're going to take a look at these Cloud9 guys and you're going to say, oh my God, these are 5 completely new names that are charged with upholding the legacy that was begun by 5 different individuals. The through line being Jack and Cloud9 as an org. Over on TSM, there's a little bit more of an example of the origins of TSM with Bjergsen, but even then, Bjergsen wasn't on the first TSM roster. So again, it's Reginald and TSM as an org, and those are really the backbones of this rivalry, and it's players who are now charged with upholding their sides of that rivalry. So again, it's just set up to be an absolute masterclass of a game. The teams themselves are positioned perfectly in the standings to make this exciting. It's just adding up. It's adding up in the best of ways.
I'm glad you're jazzed because you've been doing this for many, many years. And I want to ask you, I mean, from your end, like this game constantly is evolving, but as you said, the players are evolving. There's new rivalries, new things happening. And I think sometimes gamers look at this and see League as being separate from the industry in a way, and that it's sort of like, it's the world of esports and League, and now Riot's obviously doing more games, and Wild Rift is coming to more platforms and bringing League in. But for you, I mean, does it ever get old for you, or it's just the fact that you have constantly, new players and new teams and new rivalries coming in? That's part of the excitement, I'm sure. And the game obviously is constantly being updated as well with new content.
Yeah, I don't think it gets old. I mean, I think the moment it gets old, you might see me peace out, but I don't see that happening anytime soon because like any great sport, when you have an appreciation for greatness, right?
Yeah.
For
a display
skill
of greatness. I mean, when some of these guys, what's happening, it's incredible.
Right? I mean, I could watch Usain Bolt run 100 meters over and over and over because it is just that impressive to watch somebody who operates at a level that to you feels unattainable. Let's be honest. For 99.9% of the world, that level is above what we're capable of reaching. But that doesn't mean that we cannot appreciate the skill, the time, the effort, the commitment to becoming that good. I always make the comparison to people to traditional sports. One of the incredible things about traditional sports is that there is a pretty apparent connection between what that person's doing and what it takes to do that, right? I know that I can't run 100 yards or 100 meters as fast as Usain Bolt. And just by virtue of that, I can see how impressive it is for him to do that thing. I am very blessed and lucky to have spent so much time around this game that I really do see the ins and outs of it. And I'm probably more amazed now, knowing more about the game and being more attached to the game, because I can even more greatly appreciate what it takes for these players to do what they do day in and day out. They grind harder than anyone I know on any level to be this good.
Oh yeah, the level of practice, as you said, they get paid good money, but that's their job, and that's what they're doing all year is training and getting ready for this, and it's a ton of excitement even under these crazy conditions.
You also called out that the game evolves and changes, and I think that is such a unique and amazing aspect to gaming in general, right? Is that there is an evolution. There's a constant ebb and flow. And what defines a really great player is their flexibility, their ability to adapt and say, this was my meta and I could kind of float through it because all the champions that I'm good at happen to be good. What happens when all the champions you're not good at become good? How do you evolve as a player? How does your entire roster of 5 strategically adapt to say, okay, we can no longer play around this guy. Now we've got to adjust our strategy to move over to this side of the map and really invest in this other player. And that's where you see teams like Cloud9, teams like TSM, who remain at the top of the standings year in and year out. They have found something that works. They've found players and they've found systems. They have found structure in their organization that makes their success repeatable, even while the game itself is changing. And I just find that so fascinating to watch. It's just such an incredible treat to have a front row seat, from my perspective, to all of these games and to have that direct access to these players to pick their brains.
Well, it's gonna be a fun weekend. It sounds like you got the show match and obviously the rivalry match, but all the other games happening. And as you mentioned, as we go through these 9 weeks, is every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there are games and they're available, YouTube, Twitch, all the major places, right?
Exactly. So yeah, we've just this year we moved to a 3-day-a-week broadcast. So many people will remember that it was just Saturday, Sundays in the past. We now have a great new program called Friday Night League, which takes place generally starting at 6 p.m. on Fridays. But this week, you're going to want to tune it at 5 p.m. because 5 p.m. is when that classic show match is happening where we're bringing back the old rosters of Cloud9, TSM. But 2 games every Friday night starting at 6 p.m. normally, 5 p.m. this week. And then you move to Saturday, Sunday, a 12:30 start time for those days. We got a 30-minute pre-show, the countdown, which I'm lucky enough to host. We preview all the matches. We're going to set you up with the narrative. So if you're new, don't be afraid. We're going to hand-hold you through the whole process, but 4 games per day on Saturday, Sunday, action-packed.
All right, well, you'll be live from the home studio, just like me, right?
Right here. You got a preview of what it looks like. We got the graphics up in the back. I get to play with my lights. It's been, talk about the adjustment period. It's been a very interesting individual experience to convert my home into a studio.
Same with me,
and of itself, right?
It's one of those ones where it's kind of like, I knew this was sort of going to be this way this summer, but yeah, it's literally like flip on the camera and, whether we're doing a PlayStation thing or a Riot thing or whatever, it's all just kind of happening real time here and live. And yeah, it's been amazing. The whole community has banded around this stuff and thank God, we can still do esports. We can still do these gaming events. Games can still come out. I'm amazed that people can make games in this environment, right? And that's the thing is like they're updating the game, they're patching it, all these other games are being made and produced, and we can sit around and talk and do things, but like the fact that people are coding and doing art and music and everything and blending that into like these games, and you said same thing with League, like they continue to update it. It's not like things have stopped, and my hat is off to all the developers that they're able to do that in this environment.
100%. I mean, I consider myself to be one of the luckiest individuals because I'm the final piece of the puzzle. Right? Everyone else has to do all this work to make this possible for me to then sit down in this chair on a Saturday and start the show. And so really, again, as you mentioned, it's just been an incredible amount of work from so many people. But I think even more so what it has done is it's put a spotlight on the value of esports in particular. The value of esports because it can go remote, because we have been able to persist through quarantine times where you see, other sports, traditional sports, fall to obstacles of the remote broadcast. And I've been, again, just constantly amazed and surprised at our community and how they have rallied around us and have encouraged us and really affirmed the value that I see in our product and in our sport. And for all of us to be able to come together and celebrate that every weekend and still be able to put these games on air, I just think it's a testament to a lot of hard work from a lot of people. But more than that, it's a testament to the passion of esports fans, because you build it, they will come, right? And man, do esports fans show up.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun, I think, for the rest of the year to see how this evolves. You said the fan base is still there, and that's what I see even with all the stuff we've been doing this summer. It's like the audience is still there, right? We might not have the shiny floor set and all the lights and everything, but it's like people still feel the energy, and it's that connect, especially in esports, to the human aspect of it, and the fun of everyone playing together. So you guys have done a great job adapting, and we look forward to seeing everything happen this weekend throughout the rest of the summer, and hopefully a massive, exciting Worlds later this year.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for the same. I mean, one step at a time. I'm curious to see which 3 teams are even going to represent our region.
There's got to be a champion, right?
There's got to be a champ. There's got to be a champ. And if you like awesome sports storylines, Cloud9 currently sits undefeated in the league. This is after dropping only 2 games last split, 2 out of over 20 games. So they are on an impressive run, and TSM looks like possibly their biggest competition. So not only is this a rivalry, steeped in history, but it actually promises to be one of the best games of the split from a pure gameplay level. So again, I encourage anyone who's interested to come join us. I know it can be a little intimidating, but luckily we have a lot of really talented casters, people who are way more intelligent than me, who will be guiding you through the gameplay itself, and then I'll catch you on the back end to help you through the narrative and just celebrate the awesome stuff that we've seen.
You want to understand what's happening, but it's happening so fast in these games. That's the other thing, right? And it's like there's the Baron, and it's like that. As you said, there is a bit of a ramp, but I think you guys do a great job of couching it in the right way. And as you said, I think a lot of players are very curious about it, and it is such a well thought out game. As you said, the skill that goes into it, you just have to appreciate what folks are able to do and how hard they work to be able to do what they do in the game as a team, right? And that's the thing, is I just think team communication and how that all comes together. There's a lot of amazing work that goes on behind the scenes with the coaches and the teams, getting these folks ready. And as you said, this weekend, that's going to be a pretty amazing rivalry match to see if Cloud9 gets a defeat on the books or not. So
yeah, it's a massive undertaking, and I'll say this, and I got to thank you for everything that you've done. I mean, I think 2020 hit us all, everyone in the world, in a way that we could have never expected or prepared for. But what it has also done and shown to me is put a spotlight on community. And I want to keep hammering that word. It put a spotlight on community, but also on the importance of community events. And with the announcement of the cancellation of E3, I think for so many gamers, that was a real dagger to the heart, right? I mean, that event represents the gaming community as a whole in so many ways. So I want to thank you for the work that you've done to bring that sense of community back and to highlight it. And in a similar way, I want to say, everything that you've put a spotlight on is another example of that community. For the LCS, that's what we are. We're just a community of gamers who love this one game at so intensely at a high level. I want to encourage people to join that community.
Point. No, and it's the thing is sometimes, and I feel like the community sometimes like they can get isolated in a way where it's like, well, I want my Batman game announcement. It's like, what's this or that? And I'm like, no, it's all part of like the gaming community. And even this summer, it's been fun. Like when we did Wild Rift, it was like so cool to see people from around the world want to watch that and be a part of it. And to me, it's like we want to build the biggest possible community of gamers and have everyone respecting each other. And much like you guys, I think, have built an incredible sport. And to me, it's not about, league versus different game. It's like the entire gaming industry showing that like the Worlds is the biggest sporting event in the world, much like I want the Game Awards to be the biggest award show in the world that just happens to be about games. So yeah, I appreciate what you're saying there about the community coming together. And I love that this summer we can involve kind of all the companies that were at E3 and the ones that weren't, and looking, as you said, at these live service games and esports, and include it all under the banner of the gaming community. So yeah, you guys have done such an incredible job year after year with amazing broadcasts, but incredible work on the game. And I can't wait to see what's in store for the rest of the year from LCS and of course Riot. So Dash, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you live on Friday, I guess, right?
We'll see you on Friday and on Saturday to continue this weekend. Exactly. Thank you so much for having me.
We know what you're doing every weekend for the next little while, but hey,
you know where to find me, right here.
We're all at home anyways. All right. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeff.